Welcome back to the Monster Mash. Canonical inconsistencies, strange tidbits of lore, and timeline continuity nightmares all in one video series. Hey, what's the difference really when you break it down between a video series and a podcast? Yeah, I know, more work for me to do in the editing, but the logic's the same. You could say even, I have multiple podcasts. I just would never say that out loud to another human being ever. The BBC, ironically, has never really understood podcasts, which is strange, considering they put out quite a few. In the Whoniverse, there has never been a mention of them before the year 2017. And the 12th and 13th Doctor's eras as a result have treated them like some new millennial media, when no, they've been around just as long as the revival itself. This must be one of those young people things, like YouTube and Little Mix. Oh, you thought everyone and their dog had a Doctor Who podcast? Well, the Whoniverse itself has 3 more to add to that list. 3 in-universe, impossible podcasts. But first, let's thank our sponsor. This podcast was brought to you by Audible.com. Here's the podcast that lasted throughout all of human civilization. But what's so special about this true crime come history podcast? Well, I think it'd probably have something to do with the fact that everybody in the Whoniverse listens to it. In modern day, the Doctor is the only member of her TARDIS team to not follow it. In fact, it winds her up when her companions already know history better than she does. And then later on in the story, they meet up with their 2 time agent friends who also listen to the podcast frequently. Pretty much everyone at the Time Agency is a fan. The Time Agency was founded in the 49th century. Now, for that podcast to still be running that long, I'm no math boy, but that sounds like a lot of episodes. Definitely weird. The universe doesn't tend to do coincidences when I'm around. And who's this she? Who's running the podcast? Her name's not Smith, is it? Because then things could be getting messy. No, the podcast is instead run by Stillian Flesh Eater. She looks like this. And this revelation brings about a climax where the characters just sit down with a cup of tea and talk it out. Honestly, they should have recorded that. That's what a podcast is, right? Next week they have Davros as a special guest talking about racial purity. Yeah, that sounds pretty spot on. Crash landed on Earth in the 1700s, the Stillian Flesh Eaters found themselves eating so many humans that they began taking on human traits, including their need for morbid real crime documentaries, eventually. The podcast is so popular that it goes on for millennia, as one of planet Earth's most persisting cultural artifacts. I really rate this story. I love it deeply. It's really endearing how, when faced with immortality and living through human history, Ashilda could have just sidestepped the angst and the existential dread and just started a podcast. I've definitely heard worse coping mechanisms. And then there was a podcast the Doctor hosted himself, all complete with an oral-based monster in it. No, I'm not talking about the David Tennant podcast, because that thing has celebrity entitlement and James Corden all over it. The 12th Doctor, in his time at St. Luke's University, was frequently pestered to be in the People of St. Luke's podcast, run by a very sweet and very doomed student called Petra. And hey, if you think my Capaldi's bad...
Hello, listener. I'm the Doctor. Welcome to this week's edition of People of St. Luke's.
Upon her death, the Doctor does an episode in tribute called The Monster at the End of This Podcast, which is obviously a reference to the children's picture book, which in this universe becomes a major religion in the 2020s. Can't wait for that one. Dudman impression aside, it's not a very scary story, nor a very interesting podcast, but the story does give us a lot of fun tidbits. Nardole stole the TARDIS to see ABBA in 1974. The Doctor once turned the university invisible for 3 days, and the university is also under attack by a trans-dimensional cassette tape. Imagine getting killed by a cassette tape in this universe. And last of all, I'd like to direct you to the Cardiff Unknown podcast, a real 45-minute episode that you can listen to. Conspiracy theorists living in Cardiff on top of a space-time rift. That's excellent. Trigger warning, horror, mild swearing, and mystery. The show's 2 hosts, Jeff and Neve, are on Cardiff Bay, uncovering conspiracies and mysteries that Torchwood haven't gotten around to yet. It is terribly authentic and adorable in a Love and Monsters kind of way. I believe originally it was designed as a creative piece of promotional material for the 2018 Torchwood series. But yeah, it sets a pretty weird precedent that every conspiracy theorist in Doctor Who is correct. Strange implications there. Cut to next year, where a script accidentally doesn't read the room and implies that the Earth is flat. Number 2. Oh, bad boy. Bad dog. On not one, not two, but 3 different occasions, K-9 has messed with the omnipotent Eternal, the Black Guardian. Somehow, despite this, K-9 is still alive. Following the events of the Key to Time, the Doctor and Romana are being chased by a strange old man with a crown on his head, because he chased them for a good while after that arc. In this month's Out of Time, I did clock the 10th Doctor telling the 4th that in his near future he was going to settle down with a nice time lady and a dog. And then I did my reading. In the antimatter, the Doctor and Romana settled down as a lord and lady of a house in Hampshire in 1929. Whilst, get this, K-9 is in the TARDIS leading the Black Guardian on a wild goose chase. The Doctor activated the TARDIS randomizer and programmed it to travel to 1,000 planets, which could take up to a month. The Black Guardian is running around the galaxy whilst the Doctor and Romana are on a leisurely holiday. And then, once Romana has regenerated, he falls for the exact same trick again. As in the Wave of Destruction, K-9 takes the initiative and successfully fools him twice. Shame on you. This also means that K-9 can fly and land the TARDIS, as the 4th Doctor does not approve of his parking. Or his barking. In the well-mannered war, the Black Guardian has a new scheme that involves K-9 becoming a presidential candidate. This genius and very strange plan fails. There's a number of stories set after the Key to Time arc where the Black Guardian's just trying to get his revenge. And the Doctor gets so tired of this that eventually he removes the randomizer, presumably in the Leisure Hive, having lost complete interest. Tell me again why we were meant to be scared of this guy? But no, the Black Guardian was an Eternal so strong that his most successful plan involved getting a school kid to hit him over the head with a rock. What a villain. They don't come like that anymore. Matrix! Final fact. The nasty fate of Captain Scott Thrower. Captain Thrower, much like Captain Jack, was a rogue time agent running a long con. His one involved pretending to be the final Time Lord in all of reality. This operation was shut down by the 11th Doctor and the Ponds. When his evil plan for never-ending youth is foiled by the Doctor, the real deal gives him his wish and transforms him into a young boy. A young, scared little boy. But instead of going the Margaret Slitheen mercy route, the 11th Doctor demands this young child now be arrested. By who? Oh, only the Shadow Proclamation. Which is weird and surprising, because is the Doctor even in their good books? And he just turned a man into a boy. That can't be legal. Quickly seeking to evade capture, the 10-year-old Scott Thrower uses his vortex manipulator and vamooses out of there. Before he does this, the 11th Doctor uses his sonic screwdriver, and then he arrives here. Look, it's another child. He can't talk proper. So, now we have 12. Just like they asked. Oh my god. The Doctor just sent one of his enemies into the worst possible place in time to become the 456's good shit. That is insanely cruel or insanely unlucky. And as the 13th Doctor said herself, there's no such thing as a coincidence when I'm around. That's so fucking bleak. Is it really luck that Captain Scott Thrower accidentally ended up back in time to a point where Captain Jack Harkness was selling children to be biologically infused into alien crabs for recreational drug use? And a small detail you may have missed, the children plugged into the 456, they're not children. That is clearly an overgrown adult man being kept unnaturally young. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you can tell me that was just an accident, but I've seen the Doctor do worse. Thank you for watching. I love how these go down. I love making them. Please feel free to help out this video series by leaving a little tip on my Ko-fi page. It's in the description. You can get early access and sneak peeks just like Jay, Ethan, Matthew, Alexander, Harry, Jacob, Justin, Terry, Jens, Reese, Finlay, Andrew and Ewan already have. Thank you so much for your support. Until next time.